Hello everyone. In this lesson, we are going to discuss series and sigma notation. But before that, let us first have this activity. Okay? So what we are going to do is to determine the next number in the list. Okay? So I will give you the list and you give me the next number in the list. Okay, suppose we have this list for number one. Okay, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. What will be the next number? Now, if your answer is 18, then you got it right. So how do we get 18? So observe that in our list, each number after the first is obtained by adding 3 to the preceding term. So we have 3 plus 3. That's why our second term is 6. 6 plus 3, we have 9. And so on. So 15 plus 3, we have 18. That's why our answer is 18. Now for number 2, suppose we have this list. 1, negative 2, 4, negative 8, 16, negative 32. What is the next number? Now, if your answer is 64, then that's correct. Now, how do we get 64? So observe that from this list, each number is obtained by multiplying negative 2 to the preceding term. Okay, so here we have 1 times negative 2. The second term will be negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2, the third number is 4. And so on. So we have negative 32 times negative 2. The answer is 64. Okay, how about for number 3? We have 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. What is the next number? Now, if your answer is 34, then that is right. So how do we get 34? Observe that from this list, each number after the first two terms, which are 1 and 1, okay, is obtained by adding the two preceding terms. So we have 1 plus 1. The third term is 2. 1 plus 2, you have 3. 2 plus 3, you have 5. And so on. So we have 13 plus 21. The next number must be 34. Okay, so our answer for number 3 is 34. Now, how about for number 4? We have 1 half, 1 fourth, 1 sixth, 1 eighth. What is the next number? Okay, if your answer is 1 over 10, then good job, that's correct. So how do we get 1 over 10? So observe that from this list in the denominator, okay, the denominator is obtained, each number is obtained by adding 2 to the preceding term. So we have 2 plus 2, you have 4, then 6 plus 2, you have 8, then the next is 10. So since we have 1 over something, so our answer must be 1 over 10. Okay, so that's for number 4. Now, how about for this list, number 5? 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. So what is the next number in this list? Now, if your answer is 49, then that's correct. So how do we get 49? Observe that from this list, each number here are actually perfect squares. So 1 is the square of 1, 4 is the square of 2, 9 is the square of 3, 16 is the square of 4. So I think you can see now the pattern. So we have the numbers here are actually squares of 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So we have 36, that is the square of 6. So the next one is 7. So what is the square of 7? So your answer must be 49. Okay, so for number 5, the answer is 49. Okay, so actually these lists that you can see here are actually examples of sequences. Okay, so what are sequences? When we talk about sequence, what comes in our mind? Okay, di ba? If we are going to talk about sequence, ang kadalasang pumapasok sa ating utak ay ito ay mga list ng numbers. Tama? Na merong pattern. Okay? So therefore, in English, a sequence is actually a collection of numbers that is ordered in such a way na meron tayong first number, second number, third number, and so on. Okay, so therefore, we can say that a sequence is actually a list of numbers that change due to patterns. But this is not the definition of sequence if we are going to deal with mathematics. So in mathematics, what is a sequence? So is a sequence is actually a real valued function whose domain is the set of positive integers or the set containing 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So therefore, a sequence is actually a special type lang pala ng function. Okay? Now, let's try to illustrate a sequence as a function. So let's try to illustrate this one. Sequence as a function. Now, recall in your Gen Math, di ba, you have already discussed that a function or a relation can be represented through mappings, right? Now, suppose let's illustrate a sequence through mappings, okay? Now, we have three types of mappings, right? We have one-to-one, many-to-one, and one-to-many, okay? And one of these mappings is actually not a function. Okay? And that is one-to-many mapping. Now, let's try mamaya if we have a one-to-many mapping, makakabuo ba tayo ng sequence or not? But the answer should be hindi tayo makakabuo because from the definition, a sequence must be a function. So it must be one-to-one or many-to-one lang. Okay? Now, suppose we are going to consider a finite sequence. When we say finite, merong last term or may terminating point. When we say infinite, walang last term or hindi siya nag-stop. Okay, yung sequence. Okay, now suppose we have a one-to-one mapping. Okay, and suppose our domain contains the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and our range contains the number 2, 4, 6, and 8. If one-to-one, so suppose 1 is mapped to 2, 2 is mapped to 4, 3 is mapped to 6, 4 is mapped to 8. Now, if I'm going to represent this mapping through ordered pairs, actually, we will have this list 1, 2, 2, 4. We have 3, 6, 4, 8. Right? Now, from that, so indeed, that is an example of a function. Now, how are we going to write this one in sequence form? Now, actually, yung domain natin, siya yung nagre-represent sa order ng term. Okay? While the range is the value of the term. So, meaning if you have 1 is mapped to 2, like this one, okay? 1 is mapped to 2, ang ibig sabihin yan, yung first term mo, may value na 2. Okay? So, therefore, yung first number sa list natin sa sequence is 2. Okay? 2 is mapped to 4. Therefore, the second term or the second number in the list or in the sequence is 4. And the third term is 6. And the fourth term is 8. So indeed, this is a sequence. Okay, so we have written a function in sequence form. Okay, so that's why a sequence is a special type of a function. Okay, next, suppose we have many to one mapping. Okay, so many to one mapping. Suppose this is our domain, 1, 2, 3, 4 pa rin. And suppose we have a range na -1 and 1 only. Okay? Kung many to 1, suppose we have 1 is mapped to -1, 2 is mapped to 1, 3 is mapped to -1, then 4 is mapped to 1. Indeed, this is an example of a many-to-one mapping. Tama? Now, if we're going to write this one in ordered pairs, list of ordered pairs, we will have 1, -1, 2, +1, 3, -1, and we have 4, -1. So, indeed, ito ay function. Tama. Now, how are we going to write this one in sequence form? 1 is mapped to 1, ibig sabihin, the first term is -1, right? 2 is mapped to 2, the second term is +1, third term is -1, and the fourth term is +1. So, we have this sequence. Okay? Now, how about a one-to-many mapping? Okay, example, ito para mas madali. Suppose our domain contains the number 1 only, and the range contains 2 and 3. Okay, suppose ito lang yon. Now, one-to-many, suppose 1 is mapped to 2 and 3. So, indeed, that is an example of a one-to-many mapping. Now, if we're going to write that one in ordered pairs, we have 1, 2, and we have 1, 3. Ibig sabihin nito, if we are going to write this one in sequence form, ang first term ay 2. At ang first term rin ay 3. Dalawa ang first term natin. Now, suppose ito yung pagkakasulat ko, 2, 3. Now, ibig sabihin yan, if we're going to look at this one as a sequence, ang first term ko dito ay si 2. And 3 will be my second term, which violates this one. Kasi 1 is mapped to 2 and 3. Dapat itong 2 and 3, first term dapat silang dalawa. Right? Now, hindi naman pwedeng ipapatong ko yung 3 dito sa 2 para lang maging 2 and 3 yung first term natin. So, therefore, if that's the case, one-to-many yung mapping natin, hindi tayo makakabuo ng sequence. That's why a sequence is a real valued function, a special type of function. So, dapat function siya. Okay, so I hope nakuha niyo yon. Okay, now let's proceed. The sequence with nth term a sub n is usually denoted by this one, this notation, a sub n, my curly braces. Okay? So, if you can see a sub n, ibig sabihin yan yung sequence natin. And it is defined by that function. Okay? That is, if we're going to expand that one, si n, it depends on your n, kasi nth term. Okay? So, if my n is 1, so I have a sub 1, if n is 2, a sub 2, and so on until a sub n. Okay, so therefore, itong a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4, until a sub n are actually what we call the terms of the sequence. So a sub 1 is the first term, a sub 2 is the second term, a sub 3 is the third term, and so on. And a sub n is the nth term. Okay? So therefore, for you to have the first term, magsasubstitute lang tayo ng 1 sa ating n. Okay? If we have a sub n. Okay? Now, let's proceed. How about a series? So what is a series? If sequence is a list of numbers, series naman is actually the sum of the terms of sequences. So meaning, sum of numbers naman siya. Okay, that is the associated series S sub n of a sequence is given by this one. So, ang gagawin natin, we will just add the terms in the given sequence. So, a sub 1 plus a sub 2 plus a sub 3 plus a sub 4 plus until a sub n. It depends on your n. Now, suppose I will just take the sum of the first 6 terms. So, therefore, until a sub 6 lang tayo at yung s sub n will become s sub 6. Nakuha niyo ba yon? So, ganun yung gagawin natin. Okay? So, it depends on your n. Okay? Now, for illustration, para mas maintindihan natin, Suppose we have this sequence, 1 negative 1 half, 1/3 negative 1/4. So this is our sequence. Now, the associated series of this sequence, ang gagawin lang natin ay i-add natin yung numbers. Right? So 1 plus negative 1 half plus 1/3 plus negative 1/4 magiging 1 minus 1 half plus 1/3 minus 1/4 na siya. Now, if you can simplify it, simplify. Okay? If hindi naman siya masisimplify, then as is na siya. Yun yung final answer nyo. So for this one, our answer is 7 over 12. So that is your series, associated series for this sequence, 1 negative 1 half, 1/3 negative 1/4. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Okay, now suppose let's have this activity para mas maintindihan itong sequence and series. So what we're going to do is to determine the first 5 terms of the given sequence and give its associated series. Okay, so suppose for number 1, we have the sequence defined by 3n minus 2. Therefore, dito, si a sub n natin ay si 3n minus 2. Ang gagawin natin, we will give the first 5 terms and the associated series. Okay? So, ang hinahanap ay si a sub 1, si a sub 2, si a sub 3, a sub 4, at si a sub 5. Okay? So, ano nga yung gagawin natin? Di ba nag-substitute lang tayo ng 1 for a sub 1 sa n? So, therefore, sa um, definition ng sequence na to na 3n minus 2, magsasubstitute lang rin tayo ng 1 sa n. So, we have 3 times 1 minus 2. That is equal to 1. Okay? 3 times 2, kasi 2 na yon, a sub 2, minus 2. So, we have, this is 4, right? Then, we have 3 times 3 minus 2. That is 7. 3 times 4 minus 2 is actually 10. And for the last one, 3 times 5 minus 2, this is 13. So the first 5 terms are 1, 4, 7, 10, and 13. Okay, so I hope nakuha nyo yan. And for our S sub 5, we will just add the numbers. So 1 plus 4 plus 7 plus 10 plus 13. This is equal to 35. So our associated series for this one is 35. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now let's try number 2. We have 2 plus negative 1 raised to n. So ang gagawin natin, substitute lang tayo. Okay, so we have our a sub n here is 2 plus negative 1 raised to n, right? So a sub 1 will be, so what will be our a sub 1 here? We will just substitute 1 to n, right? So we have a sub 1 equal to 2 plus negative 1 raised to 1. And that is actually equal to 2 plus negative 1, and that is 1, right? A sub 2, we have 2 plus negative 1 raised to 2. So this will become 2 plus negative 1 raised to 2 is 1. So we have 3. A sub 3, we have 2 plus negative 1 raised to 3. This is 2 minus 1, and we have 1. A sub 4, we have 2 plus negative 1 raised to 4. And that is 2 plus 1, which is 3. And a sub 5, we have 2 plus negative 1 raised to 5. We have 1. Okay? And our S sub 5 will be 1 plus 3. I-add lang natin lahat ng numbers. Plus 3 plus 1. We have 9. Okay? So I hope nakuha niyo yon. Now, for the last one, we have the sequence defined by 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus until plus n. So, therefore, magsa-stop lang yung pag-a-add nyo sa n. Okay? Since we have ellipsis here, ibig sabihin yan, the pattern continues. So, magkukontinue lang siya until n. And our n, magdidepende yan sa hinihingi. And since we have here first five terms, so until 5 lang rin yung n natin. Okay? So a sub n here is actually 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus until plus n. So what will be our a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4, and a sub 5? So actually, this number is somewhat challenging. Okay? So, ano ba ang gagawin natin dito? Para mas maintindihan natin, I will start, okay, finding the fifth term para makita niyo yung pattern. Okay? Ang sinabi ko kanina, magsa-stop lang yung pag-a-add natin sa value ng n. So, post a sub 5 tayo, therefore, our n there is 5, right? So, in that case, magiging, for a sub 5, we have 1 plus 2 plus 3 until plus 5 tayo. Okay, so therefore, this will become 15. So, our fifth term is 15. How about the fourth term? So, until 4 lang rin tayo. Okay, so I think nakuha nyo na yung pattern dito. So, we have 1 plus 2 plus 3 until plus 4 lang. And that will become 10. For the third term, until 3 lang. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, and that is 6. For the second term, you have until 2. So we have 3. And first term, until 1 ka lang. So the first 5 terms will be 1, 3, 6, 10, and 15. Diba? Madali lang. And for S sub 5, for this one, we will just add the numbers 1 plus 3 plus 6 plus 10 plus 15, and that is equal to 35. Okay? So that's it for this activity. So I hope nakuha niyo yan. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the next one. We have here types of sequences. So here, we will be considering the four most common sequences that we know. We have arithmetic, geometric, harmonic, and Fibonacci. So what are these sequences? So let's have first arithmetic sequence. But before that, take note once again, a sequence could be either finite or infinite. Again, finite, merong last term. So, nag-i-end yung sequence natin. Infinite, no last term. So, hindi siya nagsa-stop. Okay, so there are formulas for finite. Meron ring formulas for infinite. And it depends on the type of your sequence. Okay, so first, the first type is arithmetic. Okay, so what is an arithmetic sequence? I think alam nyo na to. So arithmetic sequence is actually a sequence in which each term after the first term is obtained by adding a constant, which is called the common difference. Okay, so ito yung palatandaan natin, common difference, okay, to the preceding term. Example, we have this one, negative 10, negative 7, negative 4, negative 1, and so on until 17. So observe that the common difference of this sequence is actually 3, right? If we add a 3 to negative 10, you will get negative 7. Then plus 3, negative 4, plus 3, you have negative 1, and so on. Okay? Next, let's have the formulas for this type of sequence. If the nth term of the arithmetic sequence is a sub n, so meaning nth term yan, a sub n, and the common difference is d, then a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus the quantity n minus 1 multiplied by the common difference d. So this will be the formula that we are going to use if you are going to look for the value of a sub n or the nth term. Okay? Other problems, hinahanap ay yung first term. So dapat meron kayong common difference, number of terms, and the nth term to solve for a sub 1. By the way, a sub 1 is the first term, n is the number of terms from the first term, and d is the common difference. Okay, so that is the first formula, finding the nth term. Now, the associated arithmetic series with n terms is um, given by S sub n equal to n times the quantity a sub 1 plus a sub n all over 2. So this is the first formula, or this one, n times the quantity 2a sub 1 plus the quantity n minus 1 times d all over 2. This is the second formula. So kailan natin gagamitin itong first? So magagamit itong first one if a sub n, a sub 1, and n are given. Itong pangalawa, magagamit siya if hindi ibinigay si A sub n. Instead, ang common difference yung ibinigay. Okay, so just choose which of the two ang pwede nating gamitin. It depends on the given value sa problem. Okay, so these are the formulas that you are going to use in finding the arithmetic series with n terms, meaning finite yung arithmetic sequence natin. Now, sir, what if infinite yung sequence, arithmetic sequence natin? Meron bang formula? The answer is wala. Kasi either lalaki yung value, it will approach to positive infinity, or liliit yung value, it will approach negative infinity. So, walang sum na makukuha or walang series na makukuha. Okay? For infinite arithmetic sequence. But for finite, itong dalawa ang ating gagamitin. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the next one. Examples will be given mamaya after discussing the four sequences. Okay? The second one is the geometric sequence. So, ano yung geometric sequence? So, it is a sequence in which each term after the first is obtained by multiplying the preceding term by a constant called the common ratio. So, dito naman, common ratio yung tatandaan natin. Okay, magmo-multiply tayo. Example, this one. Negative 8, 4, negative 2, 1, negative 1 half, and so on until 1 over 16. Observe that the common ratio of this sequence or this geometric sequence is negative 1 half. Okay, if you will multiply negative 1 half to negative 8, you will obtain 4. Okay, 4 times negative 1 half, then you have negative 2, and so on. How do you get the common ratio? Ang gagawin natin, you will just take one number and divide it by its preceding term. So, example, I will get 4. So, 4 over the preceding term, which is you have 8. So, over negative 8, that is negative 1 half. So, ganun lang yung gagawin nyo to get the common ratio. Okay? Now, if the nth term of a geometric sequence is a sub n and the common ratio is r, then a sub n is equal to a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So this will be the formula to use in finding a sub n. So you need a sub 1, which is the first term, r, the common ratio, and n, the number of terms from a sub 1 to a sub n. Okay? Now, the associated geometric sequence with n terms, meaning finite siya kasi until n terms lang. Okay? For finite geometric series, the formula is this one. So, as you can see, para siyang piecewise function. So, piecewise, so you will just evaluate the function or the formula depending on the restriction given. So, if your r is equal to 1, okay, ito yung gagamitin natin. That is n times a sub 1. Okay, that is for r equal to 1. If r is not equal to 1, ito naman yung gagamitin natin. The second one, a sub 1 times the quantity 1 minus r to the n all over the quantity 1 minus r. So, siya yung gagamitin natin if yung common ratio natin is not equal to 1. Okay? Now, sir, meron ba tayong formula for infinite? The answer is yes, but there is a condition. Okay, so what is the condition? If your sequence is infinite. So, ito yon. Okay? For this infinite geometric series, when your r is between negative 1 and 1, okay? So, ito yung condition natin. if your R is between negative 1 to 1, the infinite geometric series has a sum. So, meron siyang sum even though hindi siya nagsastop. Okay, and it is given by this formula. S is equal to A sub 1 over 1 minus R. That is when your R is between negative 1 and 1 only. Now, if it is not between negative 1 and 1, that is if your R is greater than or equal to 1 or less than or equal to negative 1, wala tayong formula for that one. So, yung series natin, your sequence, ang series niyan, mag-a-approach siya sa positive infinity or negative infinity. So, meron siyang sum if your R is between negative 1 and 1 only. Okay, so that is the formula. So, wala na siyang sub-n kasi wala naman yung, hindi siya nag-terminate, hindi siya nagsa-stop. So, walang n. Okay? So, S is equal to A sub 1 over 1 minus R. So, that is for geometric sequence. So, let's proceed now to the third sequence, type of sequence. We have a harmonic sequence. So, in this sequence, it is a type of sequence defined by the nth term b sub n, okay, equal to 1 over n, where a sub n is an arithmetic sequence, meaning yung denominator natin dito follows an arithmetic progression. Okay, so yung denominator dapat arithmetic siya. Example, ito, 1, 1/3, 1/5, 1/7, 1/9, 1/11. So, as you can see, ay yung denominators natin ay 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, which is an arithmetic sequence. Yung common difference ay 2. Okay? So, therefore, madali lang malaman ng harmonic. Tingnan nyo lang yung denominator. If ang denominator niya follows an arithmetic sequence, then it is harmonic. Now, we don't have formulas for the nth term and the series for harmonic sequence. So, ito lang yon. Example lang. Okay? For Fibonacci sequence, we have, this is a sequence, A sub n defined by A sub n equal to A sub n minus 1 plus A sub n minus 2 for n greater than or equal to 3, where A sub 1 and A sub 2 are both 1. The terms are 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 13. Okay, so sa paano ba ito makukuha? Ang gagawin natin from this formula, from the definition, A sub n is equal to A sub n minus 1 plus A sub n minus 2 for n greater than or equal to 3. So, suppose our n is equal to 3. So, A sub 3 will be A sub 3 minus 1 plus A sub 3 minus 2. And that is A sub 2 plus A sub 1. Therefore, A sub 3 is obtained by adding A sub 2 and A sub 1. So, i-add lang natin yung two preceding terms niya. So, that's why A sub 3 natin, which is 2. So, 1 plus 1, you have 2. So, i-add lang natin yung two preceding terms. That is your Fibonacci sequence. Now, merong formula for Fibonacci sequence, okay, but we will not have it here. Sa higher math nyo yan ma-encounter. Okay? So, we will just have this one for Fibonacci sequence. Okay? So, I hope the four sequences, arithmetic, geometric, harmonic, and Fibonacci, are clear to you. Okay? Now, let's have this activity. Determine the type of following sequence. Write A if it is an arithmetic sequence, G if geometric, H if harmonic, F if Fibonacci, and X if none of the mentioned types. Okay, so ganun lang yung gagawin natin. We will determine the type of the sequence given. Number 1, we have 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. What is the type of this sequence? Now, if your answer is A, okay, that is correct. So this is an arithmetic sequence. The common difference is actually 2. Okay, so this is very easy. Now, number 2, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and so on. What is the type of the sequence? Now, if your answer is X, then that is correct. Okay, so bakit X siya? Tingnan natin if arithmetic ba siya. May common difference ba? 4 minus 1 is 3. 9 minus 4 is 5. So, from that alone, hindi siya arithmetic. Hindi common yung differences. How about geometric? 4 divided by 1 is 4. 9 divided by 4 is 9 over 4. So, from that, the common ratio is not satisfied. So, therefore, hindi common yung ratios. So, if that's the case, hindi siya geometric. Now, harmonic ba yan? 1 over something and dapat arithmetic. Hindi nga yan arithmetic, automatic, hindi rin yan harmonic, right? So, hindi rin siya fraction form. How about for Fibonacci? 1 plus 4. The next number should be 5, right? So in this case, hindi siya Fibonacci. Therefore, it is none of the mentioned types. So your answer must be X. Number 3, 1/4, 1/16, and so on. What is your answer? Now, if your answer is G, then that is correct. The common ratio is actually 1 over 4. Okay, so in this sequence, the answer is geometric. 1/4 plus 1 times 1/4, you have 1 over 16, times 1/4, 1 over 64, and so on. Okay, number 4. We have 1/5, 1/9, 1/13, 1/17, and so on. What is the next number? What is the next number? What is the type of this sequence? If your answer is harmonic, then that is correct. 5, 9, 13, 17, 21 follows an arithmetic sequence, right? Okay. For number 5, 2, 2, 4, 6, 10, 16, 26. This is, what is your answer? If your answer is F, then that is correct. This is a Fibonacci sequence. Okay, from the original 1, 1, 2, 3, nag-times 2 lang tayo. Kaya 2, 4, 6 ang nangyari. Okay, 2 plus 2, 4. 2 plus 4, 6, and so on. Okay, by the way, tip ko lang sa inyo, you must check all the terms in the given lists. Baka isa dyan makaka-violate sa definition ng type ng sequence na you think na yun yung type ng sequence sa list. Okay, so you must check all the terms here. Okay, now for our last activity, okay, for this um, topic, types of sequences, we are going to answer this problem. So we have 5 problems here. Okay, so each problem, iba-iba yung hinahanap nila. Okay, so let's try problem number 1. Okay, how many terms are there in an arithmetic sequence with fifth term 5, common difference -3, and last term -76? So from this problem, we have the following given values. Okay, so sulat lang natin yung mga given values para madali lang siyang i-recall mamaya sa solution natin. Okay, so given, yung first term daw natin ay 5. So we have A sub 1, which is 5. The common difference is -3, so D is equal to -3. And the last term is -76. Suppose we let our last term be A sub N. We don't know yung N natin, right? And yun yung hinahanap. So A sub N is -76. Okay? So what we're going to find is the value of N. Okay? So, yan yung hinahanap. How many terms? Now, since from the problem, it is stated that the sequence follows an arithmetic progression, so we will use the formulas that we know sa arithmetic sequence. Okay? And we know that A sub n is equal to A sub 1 plus the quantity n minus 1 times D, right? So this is the formula. Now, we are given with the values of A sub n, A sub 1, and D. Therefore, we can solve for N. So, ang gagawin natin, magsa-substitute lang tayo. Then, solve for N, then that is your final answer. So, A sub N is negative 76. A sub 1 is 5. Then, we have N minus 1. Then, D is negative 3. Then, we solve for and we will just manipulate all the given values here or perform all the operations involved. So we have negative 76 equal to 5. Distribute natin yung negative 3 sa n and negative 1. So you have negative 3n and positive 3. So 5 plus 3, you have 8. So we have negative 76. We have 8 minus 3n. Now solving for n, I will just rearrange the values here. So negative 3n, I will put it in the left-hand side of the equation. So you have 3n equal to, so bakit 3n yan? We will just add, right? Positive 3n both sides. Okay, so we have 3n equal to, then negative 76, I will add 76 both sides. So we will have 76 here and plus 8. Okay? So we will now have 3n equal to, this is 84, right? And dividing both sides by 3, and now is equal to 28. So the number of terms, okay, of this arithmetic sequence na binigay is actually 28. So your final answer is 28. So madali lang siya, right? So that is for number 1. How about for number 2? Okay, list the first three terms of the arithmetic sequence if the 25th term is 35 and the 30th term is 5. Okay, so the same sa ginawa natin sa first problem, we will write first the given values. So we have given here a sub 25 is equal to 35 and a sub 30 is equal to 5. So there are different ways in solving this one. So I will just give you my way in solving this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since we are to find the first three terms of this arithmetic sequence and the first term is not given as well as the common difference. So our goal here is to solve first for the common difference and the first term. Okay? So my way here, suppose okay, I will let A sub 1 be equal to A sub 25. So meaning yung 25th term ko, i-consider ko siya na first term muna. But that is not my first term really sa original arithmetic sequence sa problem na to. Okay? I will just let A sub 25 be A sub 1 para ma-solve ko yung common difference mamaya. Okay? So we have A sub 1 equal to A sub 25, which is equal to 35, right? So if that's the case, then if A sub 25 is A sub 1, okay? So therefore, what is A sub 30? So it will follow that A sub 26 is my second term, A sub 27, A sub 28, A sub 29, A sub 30. So from that, A sub 1 is A sub 25, it will follow that A sub 30 will be A sub 2, A sub 3, 4, 5, 6, A sub 6. So from this assumption na A sub 1 equal to A sub 25, magkakaroon ako ng A sub 6, which is my A sub 30 equal to 5. Okay? Now, using this information now, take note that we have this formula A sub n is equal to A sub 1 plus n minus 1 times D. Okay? Now, using a sub 6 from this um, assumption, I will now have a sub 6 is equal to a sub 1 plus 6 minus 1 times d, right? So from that, I can now solve for d. Bakit? Because a sub 6 is already has a value from our assumption that is equal to 5. And a sub 1 has a value also, which is 35. So I can now solve for d, right? So from that, I will now have 5 equal to a sub 1, which is a sub 25, that is 35, plus 6 minus 1 is 5d. So from that, I can now solve for d. Now, solving for d, this will become 5 minus 35, right? And equal to 5d. So you have negative 30 equal to 5d. Solving for d, we will divide both sides by 5. So d is equal to negative 6. So I have now my common difference. So my problem is yung first term na lang. So how will we solve for the first term? So pwede nating ma-solve ang first term using a sub 25 or a sub 30. Either of the two pwede nyong magamit. Okay? The same using this formula, a sub 25 yung gagamitin ko is just equal to a sub 1 plus 25 minus 1 times d, right? So from that, I have a sub 25. I have my d, which is negative 6. I can now solve for a sub 1, right? So from that, I have 35 equal to a sub 1 plus 24 na ito, right? Times d is negative 6. Now, solving for a sub 1, we have 35 equal to a sub 1. This is negative, ilan ba to? 24 to 144, right? So, minus 144. Then, solving for a sub 1, I will now have 35 plus 144. And that is 179. And this is now my A sub 1. So what are the first three terms? So how will we give the value of the second term? We will just add negative 6 to 179. Therefore, A sub 2 is just equal to 179 plus negative 6, that is 173. And a sub 3 is 179 plus negative, no, 173. Okay, this should be 173 plus negative 6 is 167. So the first three terms are 179, 173, and 167. Okay, so that answers our problem. Okay, now how about for the third problem? Find the sum of all positive three-digit odd integers. Okay, so what are those three-digit odd integers? Para meron tayong information sa first term and last term. Okay, so the list of positive three-digit odd integers are actually starts at 101, right? Then 103, then 105, until the last three-digit odd integer is 999. So from here, we will have a sub 1 as 101, a sub n as 999, and d as 2. Okay, so from this list, we have this information. A sub 1 is 101, a sub n is 999, and the common difference d is 2. Okay, we need to solve for the sum. The sum is given by this formula since we have a sub 1 and a sub n. So S sub n is equal to n times a sub 1 plus a sub n all over 2. Bakit ito yung ginamit natin? Because the list of all positive three-digit odd integers follows an arithmetic progression. So, arithmetic yung gagamitin natin. So, from here, a sub 1 is given and a sub n. We don't have n, so we need to solve for n first, right? Now, we know that a sub n is equal to a sub 1 times n minus 1 times d. We have a sub n, we have a sub 1, and we have d. Therefore, we can solve for n. So, we need to solve for n muna to solve for s sub n. Okay? So, first, a sub n is 999. So, we have 999 equal to, okay, we have a sub 1 is 101 plus um n is unknown minus 1 and our d is 2. Okay? Now let's solve for n. Okay? So we have 999 equal to 101 plus distribute 2. We have 2n minus 2. So we have now 999 equal to 99 plus 2n. Okay, let's solve now for n. We now have 999 minus 99 equal to 2n. So we have 900 equal to 2n, dividing both sides by 2. So 450 is equal to n. So our n is 450. And we can now solve for s sub n. So we have s sub 450 kasi n is 450 is equal to 450 times 101 plus 999 all over 2. Okay? So from that, we will have 450 times that will become, ilan ba to? That is 10, 10, 1, 1. Am I right? So this will become 1,100. Okay? All over 2. Okay? So from that, this will now be equal to, okay? Using your calculators, you will now have 247,500. Okay, so I hope you got it right. Okay, so that is for problem number 3. Okay, now let's proceed to problem number 4. Yan. The seventh term of a geometric sequence is -6 and the 10th term is 162. Find the fifth term. Okay, so my solution for this problem is somewhat the same sa problem number 2. Okay, we will just use geometric sequence na mga formulas. Okay, so here, given values are actually a sub 7, which is -6, and a sub 10, which is 162. Okay. So from that, the same with problem number 2, I will let a sub 1 be a sub 7, which is -6. Then it will follow. So if we have a sub 7 here, which is a sub 1, then a sub 8, a sub 9, a sub 10, a sub 10 is a sub 4. So we have a sub 4 equal to a sub 10, which is 162. Okay? Now using a sub 4, the formula for geometric sequence is given by a sub n equal to a sub 1r to the n minus 1, right? So from that, a sub 4 is just a sub 1r to the 4 minus 1, right? So from that, a sub 4 it is given here, is equal to 162, equal to a sub 1 is negative 6, r raised to 3, right? So from that, we can now solve for r, dividing negative 6 both sides. So this will be negative 27 equal to r cubed. Okay? Now solving for r, we will extract the cube root of both sides. So this will become r equal to negative 3. So we now have the value of r. Okay? Now, since we are to find the fifth term of this sequence, now suppose I will let a sub 1, okay? So for finding the fifth term, okay, to find the fifth term, so I will just write here to find a sub 5, okay? Suppose I will let a sub 1 be a sub 5, then it will follow that if a sub 5 is a sub 1, so a sub 6, a sub 7, so a sub 7 will be um, a sub 3, right? So if a sub 1 is a sub 5, then a sub 3 will be a sub 7. Okay, so I will just rewrite this one. Unahin natin yung a sub 3 para meron siyang parallel yung solution natin. Okay, so a sub 3 will become a sub 7. So from that, we will now have, using a sub 3, a sub 3 is equal to a sub 1 r raised to 3 minus 1, right? So from that, a sub 3 is a sub 7. And what is a sub 7? We have negative 6. So we have negative 6 is equal to a sub 1, which is a sub 5. And we don't have the value of a sub 5. So we still have a sub 5 here. Our r is negative 3 raised to 2. So we now have negative 6 equal to negative 3 square is 9, a sub 5. Dividing both sides by 9 to solve for a sub 5, we have negative 2/3 is equal to a sub 5. And this is now our final answer for number 4. I hope that is clear. Okay? Now, for the last number, we will find the associated series of a geometric sequence with 9 terms. Okay, with 9 terms. Common ratio 3 and first term negative 1/2. Okay, so here, given values are n is 9. We have 9 terms. R is 3. And the first term a sub 1 is negative 1/2. Since we are to find the associated series of this geometric sequence, and since it is finite, so we will use the formula S sub n equal to, since the common ratio is 3, which is not equal to 1, so we have a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the n. I think this is the formula, if I'm not mistaken, 1 minus r. Right? Tama ba to? Okay, so tama siya. Now, from that, we will now have a sub 1 is negative 1/2 times 1 minus r. Oh, our r pala is 3, right? So we have 3 raised to n is 9 all over 1 minus 3. Now, if you are going to use your calculators, so using your calculator here, so I will be using my calculator, the answer will be 9,841 over 2. So this is now the final answer. Okay? So that's it for the first part of our lessons sa series and sigma notation. For the second part, we will be discussing sigma notation na. Okay, so I hope may natutunan kayo dito sa lesson na to. And thank you for watching. Okay?